Hi, welcome to Rajal Live and welcome to Project Management Series. As I'm doing different videos on project management on different topics. Today, I'm going to explain about two different things in reference to the project management. Where in this project management, we need to understand the detailed part of project management and all, everything in two different aspects. So one is about process groups and second is knowledge areas. Normally, project management should understand on two bases. One is process groups. Second is called as knowledge areas. Right? These are the two ways generally this project management one has to understand. So this is the video which is majorly helpful for the people who are learning project management initially to start with. So normally in reference to the process management itself is concerned, wherein this process groups, whatever are we talking about, these process groups have different stages. The first stage is called initiating. First stage is called initiating. The second stage is called planning. Third stage is called executing. Fourth stage is called monitoring and controlling. And last is closing. So these comes under process groups. As far as project management itself is concerned, these will be called as process groups. Now, when we talk about these knowledge areas, then what is knowledge areas? Knowledge areas are as follows. Knowledge areas starts with integration. Knowledge area starts with integration, scope, time, cost, quality, followed by this human resource and communications. This is how generally this knowledge areas will be derived. When you see project management from the two levels, one is process groups, second is knowledge areas. Process groups, nothing but initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, closing, all that. Now, when we talk about knowledge areas like integration, scope, time, cost, quality, human resource, communication, all this. Along with this, we can add even risk right? Risk can also be added into this. At the same time, procurement can be added in this. Followed by procurement, last but not least, I can add stakeholder management also, because stakeholder management is essentially important to manage stakeholders throughout the project. So depends on the kind of power as well as the interest what they have. So stakeholder management also has to be focused more on. So these are the two different things you see from the project management point of view. Now, when we talk about the detailed part of process groups, because process groups are something essentially important, especially when we are learning into project management. So in the initiation part, because under the process groups, the first is what generally initiation, because most of the people will have a doubt here. Raj, what generally we do in initiation? At the same time, what is that we do in planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, closing, all that. Of course, there are a lot of points which are involved in each and every section, but I am highlighting some points which are essentially important. Let's come back to the process groups. The first one is called initiation, where in this initiation, we need to select project manager for a particular project. So because projects are maybe many projects will be there with us. We need to identify project manager for a particular project. At the same time, we need to determine the company's culture as well as the kind of existing systems which are involved in it. Followed by this, we need to know about the kind of process and as well as procedures, followed by the historical information, whichever is required. Along with this, if there are any kind of projects we are working on, we need to divide these large projects into different phases, followed by understanding the business case, all that. Apart from that, one must be knowing about the kind of assumptions followed by the constraints which are involved while we are working on the initiation phase, followed by the feasibility, developing project charter, identifying the stakeholders by using power and interest grid, all this. So this is all comes under the planning initiation phase. Initiation phase. Now, when we are talking about the planning phase, where we need to determine how the plan of each and every knowledge area works out. At the same time, we need to determine the detailed requirements by understanding as well as creating the scope of the statement. Followed by this, creating a work breakdown structure. Along with that, creating some activity list, whoever is working on the project. By estimating the resource of requirements which are essentially important for us to develop the project. At the same time, developing some schedules, budgets. Followed by this, like the kind of roles and responsibilities of the people who are working on it. At the same time, creating some change management plans. All these things comes under the planning phase. Now, when we talk about execution is something majorly focusing on understanding about the kind of deliverables of the product or a project by understanding the scope of it. At the same time, we need to gather the work performance of the data. Along with this, one should be able in a position to hold the team building activities by evaluating the team's individual performances, managing people. Apart from that, when we are talking about the quality part, performing quality audits. Along with that, managing stakeholders as well as engaging them by conducting some meetings, all that under execution phase. When we discuss about monitoring and controlling phase, where we need to measure the performance against the performance measurement baselines, analyzing and evaluating the performances, followed by the kind of changes if there is any kind of things which is requested here, or else we can also be focused more on approvals as well as the rejection of changes, monitoring stakeholder engagements, managing configurations. At the same time, we need to be able in a position to create the forecast whichever is essentially required. Followed by this, performing some risk assessments and audits and all, everything comes under monitoring and controlling phase. Last but not least, when we are talking about closing phase, where we need to confirm whether the work was done with all the requirements whichever we have taken and finalized. Next, completing the financial closures. At the same time, solicit feedback from the customer about the project, followed by the final performance reporting, all that. At the same time, whatever the complete procurement closures, whichever are essentially required. Next, we need to understand and gain final acceptance of the project. Followed by this, what are all the improvements do we require to do it for the next project is what comes under the closing part. So these are the different activities which, being a project management or a project manager for that particular project, is what usually they do for any of the project. For more information, please reach out to the contact details which will be posted in below to this video. Thank you.